war and you don't test your plan, is it useful? So that is what we need to do. Doctrinally, civil military cooperation provides a military function through which the commander linked to civilian agencies active in a theater of operations. That's the doctrine there. It is the responsibility of national government to protect and assist. All those things you will see there, I don't want to belabor us with them. So these are all mentioned there. I think there is self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA. It has an air purifying respirator, I will move it, and it has my splash suit. That's to be able to go as a first responder to see what is happening there, so that people don't die. That is sort of thing that in this country, it is in the document of NEMA of first responders and everything there. But we need to take those things from being a document to practical things. Don't you agree with me? Yeah. Am I talking sense? Yeah. So, the system contains standard leadership and management hierarchy procedures as well as process to support wide-range incidents. It supports synchronized effort and, personnel are trained in a common operating language and procedure and are assigned according to pre-established standard agreed upon by involved authorities. The system is designed to support increased organization from the initial stages of the disaster until its conclusion. This is what we were asking our questions on before. That is what the United States taught me about incident command system. That's what I was taught. So, incident command system is standardized all hazard incident management concept. It's a model for command, number one, for what again? Control, and for what? Coordination of the response to an emergency. ICS provides a process for coordinating the effort of various agencies and resources as they work together in a safe manner for the control and mitigation of emergencies. First of all, the ICS starts with operation. This first C is for consultation. Operation consultation. Next one is calls for operation cooperation. And the last one calls for coordination. And the last C is what you don't have, confrontation. So these are the 3 and the 4 C's. What are the 4 C's? Consultation. Next one is for cooperation through a plan. And next one is for coordination, where roles and responsibility are designed, are delineated. Everybody knows the role, as our president has already said. In the United States, there are no arguments about it. It is predetermined, it is prearranged, and a constant roundtable keeps going on, and there are various meetings, and the industries are bought into it, so that every private company has already got their plan integrated into the national plan. Every community has their community environmental response team, are all integrated into the national plan. This is what we should be doing here. So, provides for this one that is there. Justification for a national incident management system for Nigeria. It's adopted from FEMA. Communities across Nigeria experience a diverse stress of hazard. The size, frequency, and mechanism. Every day, jurisdiction, organization work together to share resources, integrate tactics, and act collectively. Whether these organizations are nearby or are supporting each other from across the country, their success depends on a common say it after me, operable approach to next one, sharing resources, and what again, coordinating and managing incidents, and last one, communicating information. So, the National Incident Management System defines that. So that's the framework we need to have for Nigeria. The framework is written especially for government officials, private sector. So we need that framework for Nigeria. Don't you agree with me? Yes. A national framework, national disaster management framework, as a strategic national incident management system, coordinated tool in managing disasters and complex emergencies in Nigeria, especially in civil military arrangement, with much respect to our distinguished men in uniform. So all those things are there. I don't want to go through with you. The way forward, resource management, it is there. Command and coordination is there. Communication and information management is not there. Mr. Fakodi has mentioned it, and I'm just reinforcing it, because repetition is the law of deep impression. So, before I thank you, I said some recommendations are here. A national weather radio station by NIMET and ECRMI and NA, National and Nigerian Army Resource Center Initiative. I think it's the time we have a radio for that. Do you agree with me? If you agree with me, say hi. Well, all the eyes have it. There should be national legislation for mandatory corporate business emergency plan development and trades. Do you agree with this second one too? Corporate, private sector. Proactive community-based emergency plans in all 774 local governments in Nigeria. Do you agree with that? Clap if you agree with that. So, launching of Nigeria Prepare Initiative. A 1 month for national awareness on disaster preparedness, so that we can inculcate a culture of national preparedness. When disasters strike, according to the DG of ECRMI, it is too late to prepare. When you enter exam hall, is it the time you prepare for the exam? When you want to play a match against another team, is it when you get to the field you start preparing? You know you will collect more goals to share with all the citizens of Nigeria. So you see that a national initiative, 1 month like that, enhanced capacity training for disaster management for chief executive in public, private sectors, community leaders, and faith-based institutions with ECRMI and Nigerian Army Resource Center collaborating. And we want with NEMA there too. Sorry, National Emergency Call Number, similar to the 911 that's already practiced in Lagos State. Lagos State deserves a combination to be very candid. If you're talking about disaster management, Lagos State is number one. Let's give a round of applause for Lagos State. I'm not from Lagos State. Don't think I'm supporting them. But they're doing well, so we should track for them very well. So, that establishment of National Emergency Response Center. The National Response Center in the United States, in all 36 states, works in this way. The National Response Center, NRC. Anywhere there's any emergency, the call goes to that center. And the coordinators there activate the first responder that serves as the all-seeing commander in the ICS. OSC, we call it all-seeing commander, who takes action, who takes control of everything there. That is what we have in the United States. So ECRMI is proposing collaboration with NEMA, Nigerian Army Resource Center, and some universities to coordinate the development of the national and hazard map, not only flood, national disaster hazard map for Nigeria, so that on your laptop, on your computer, if anything happens anywhere, like the Google map, you'll be watching everything that is happening. And that is what is done with the person who goes to the first responder. Then you have simul drill simulation on quarterly basis. You agree with me that if you have a simul drill, it's important. You agree with me? On every quarter, we should be able to test such plans of the cooperation between the military and the civilians. And then ECRMI to develop a website. DG, I don't know how far you've gone about that website. Call it www.ready.gov. www.ready.gov is on readiness. It's a website on readiness. I don't know how far you've gone about that. But we are planning to do that with the Nigerian Army Resource Center. So I think if you give me some 3 more hours, I'll be able to talk more. But I think I've been warned severally. I've refused to listen to the alert. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, another round of applause for him. It's very important for us to note that, like Dr. Chu said, the doctor is very strong, and yet he made out time. You could see that even at first when he started, he was still feeling a little bit shaky until the passion of the business got into his blood. So thank you very much, sir. Well done. Yes, please, let's ask questions. He has moved us from we have moved from climate change to military-civilian cooperation in the event of emergencies, and he has given us many beautiful recommendations. So, I mean, we need to ask questions. When I saw the way those ice were melting, I thought a lot of people are going to ask questions from that side. So please, okay, there's one hand here. Anybody else with a question? Okay, the chairman. Yes. One more. We'll take one more. Okay. The lady from behind. So we'll start from you here, sir.
Okay.
You can use this mic. This one.
No. Okay. The chairman, sir, very senior personality here present, senior officers, gentlemen. Well, I've listened to most of these lectures presented, and my contribution in this last lecture, in respect of a natural preparedness plan that needs to be conceived and prepared. Mine is just contribution, it's no question. I think there's need for us to include holistic approach, especially grassroots participation in disaster management. Whatever arrangement you make, once the community are not involved, the response time at that material time become near zero, because they are the first that will be at the spot. The case in point is when we had plane crash where our officers were involved. It's the immediate community there that responded. So they need for us to have a holistic approach to disaster management. Because if they are not in the picture of what to do, whatever aspect of disaster we are talking about, the community, the locals need to know. We need to be educated. Otherwise, it will impinge on our effectiveness. For instance, the local man that does not know that building drainage prone area is somehow the minus in its ability to live within that environment where there's flood. Because of why? Poverty, education. Once these areas have to be looked into and create national awareness up to community level, if that is not done, we're going to have problem. Because before the main agencies involved, before their arrival, these are the people that need to take action first, who will in turn hand over to the main agency, lead agency, the supporting agencies that will enhance the disaster or mitigate disaster as at when it occurs. Now, there's nothing you're going to tell that local man that poverty has, it's well written on him not to build in a cheap area, for instance, landslide prone area. There's nothing I'm going to tell him. So, they are praying for you to impact policy, government policy on him to leave that place. He sees you as enemy. So, to him, building there is okay for him because it's cheaper. After all, he wants to only own a house and avoid paying rent. So, if you don't, such area is not good for them. They're going to see the society as enemy or the agencies as enemy. So, they need to be carried along if actually we want to achieve the result. So, in this case, I would rather suggest whole society approach and whole government approach to disaster management. That is the only sure way of achieving holistic disaster preparedness and management, which should be a continuous process at all times, whereby all persons, man, woman, in each community knows what to do, whichever disaster that happens at any time. Now we are putting everyone on the same platform to operate. Whatever the disaster is, this is what action they need to do. The only way we can do is go all out and educate the masses for them to know. It's not just assembling here, we educate ourselves. You can see the top way our management team, we can't do it alone from various segments of society. But the society, those people that are actually those are the first people that will feel the impact. They need to know what to do. For instance, the aircraft dropped on a particular community. Before you and I get there, it takes time. So the community needs to know. So that alone will help us in achieving the desired objective of this forum. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. That was a very powerful I would like to call on Professor Rabiu. Before we take the next question, I would like to call on Professor Rabiu, if he's in. Is he in? Okay, to receive his presentation certificate from our President and Chairman of Council. Chairman, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I think, Chairman, we are still with you, sir. I think your question.
Thank you very much. One of the commons that cut across all our presenters during this conference is the issue of national preparedness. And again, all through, this question is open to all our presenters who are here or who presented their papers in this occasion. Nigeria is a signatory to various climate change protocols, from Kyoto to the Paris Protocol. Well, recently, the UAE has started what they call simulating rains through cloud seeding. They simulate rain through cloud seeding. And that the effect we saw in the last couple of weeks in the UAE. Places as big as Dubai more flooded. What is the effect of this on aviation? What is the effect of this on the health sector, agriculture? And going into this protocol that we signed, how do we, on the other hand, see to it that nations that signed this also abide by it? It's a question that I'll just throw open to all the presenters, because the issue of climate change mitigation was a common in all their presentations. Thank you.
Okay, so let's take the third question, then we'll open the floor for answers to this second question from any of the presenters or any one of us on that matter. Okay, so the last question from the lady behind you.
Good day, everybody. I'm Dr. Angela from University of Abuja. This is my question on the last session is on the greenhouse effect. We are told that even as we use our generators, I know so many of them are even so bad that what they emit is terrible. And we are told that this is adding to the blanket effect, making the place comfortable. And it's like every household has generator. To my greatest surprise, I don't think this power holding are represented in this arena. They should be part of this conference in case of next time, so that they will at least take home whatever people are talking about. What do we do to stop the effect of these generators adding to the greenhouse effect? That is one question. There was something I wanted to ask in the previous lecture about response time. Sir told us that that is paramount in our disaster management, response time. And we do not know where disaster may occur. It can be anywhere. And now we know that most of our roads are really terrible. It's not about accessibility to the point of the disaster. another thing here is the vehicles passing through those places. Well, I want to use fire service as an example. Most of their vehicles, I don't know how old they are. Are they not replaceable? Are they not maintained? And most of the time, even when you are able to go get across to the fire service, either they will say the vehicles are bad or there's no water. So I just don't know how we will be able to tackle that problem as a body. And then I think that governments should be represented when we come together, instead of just sending address or goodwill messages and then they will leave. And we will still wait till when we will have a communique that we can send to them. If they are here, then we will have something to take home to the people they are representing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam. I would just like to say, please, a round of applause for her. I would just like to quickly say that government has been represented here in the different capacities and different categories. If you are talking about the political office holders, there are people who are working under them who have been here. MEMA is here. Most of the agencies are here. And what we will do when we finish with our communique is, apart from publishing it in the newspapers, we will also send directly to the concerned offices. So I would like to assure you that we'll do our best to see that the information gets across to those it must reach. And yes, PACN needs to be here, but you see the consumers of PACN and the users of generators, thank God we have them in the hall. So all of us here, I equally call people in that area of generator usage. I know that we use generators because there's no power from power holding. They have held the power, so they are not giving it to us. But yes, Madam is here to tell us next time she will make sure that people from PACN are also here. People from the DISCOs, people from the TCN, people from the GENCOs. We will make sure that all of them are represented so that the discussion on greenhouse gas effects and global warming is carried by everybody. I just hope it won't be another opportunity for everybody to see their own challenges, why we cannot have power.
Sitting or standing on the existing protocol, permit me to really thank our President for raising this question. For so many years, I was sitting in that position of some of those protocols, especially on the Valley Action Plan, the ECRMI, and I sat in the committee that is responsible for the enforcement branch of the compliance committee of the ECRMI. I remember I was trying to tell somebody I was talking. I was going for EFCC. He had EFCC. So the question was, I was in EFCC. So I said, no, it's the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. That body, for 8 years, I was in that. It was like a criminal court. You sit down to judge countries as to their compliance with the Kyoto Protocol. And I was representing Africa and the developing countries. So it gave me an opportunity to what I'm doing saying right now. Those countries that are complying by sanction. As a result of our sanctioning, Canada tried to pull out, but with the new president, they're coming back. I could say Ukraine had to send delegation to justify why they are not complying. Because that sanction included incentive to receive money receive some funds from the executive board of the UNFCCC when they reduce their level of greenhouse gases, and they can trade that one if you replace your technology for generating electricity that is releasing X amount of greenhouse gases, and you replace it with a technology that does not release a single level of greenhouse gases. They calculate that money for you and give it to you. China, Brazil, and India were collecting 70% of such money. That's why China became so rich. Nigeria did not do anything. I only made one project. But by the time I left, I had 6 projects and completed one of these things there. By the time we now have about 15. So that's an opportunity of the other side of climate change of those protocols. We signed the protocol, we never made use of it. Africa today is a gold mine. Africa, and renewable energy is gold mine, and Africa is a gold mine. Renewable energy is gold, and Africa is a gold mine. By 2015, that has reinforced that aspect now. And the new market mechanism of the Paris Agreement is going to be operationalized by this next COP25. Nigeria need to play an active role in it, even from tree planting, that you can sequester these greenhouse gases. There is money for it. I wrote a proposal for Nigeria to do. In Ethiopia, they have only one of these MTA that is there. So they have it to assist them. Ethiopia wrote that proposal. They are getting some money for that now. So that's the advantage of what Mr. President said. We need to take what we are doing into real practicality of translating it to the incentives and economic benefit of climate change. Climate change is not all doom. There's opportunity because the same character that represents crisis in Chinese is also the same character that represents opportunities. There's opportunity today for our business sector to make money from developing a robust, resilient system for the industries so that the crisis of climate change does not destroy them. But our private sector are already naive, I would say. They are bereft of this information. That's why the center is carrying out, I think we try to do that, the risks of climate change and the opportunities. Because the next question of somebody about the awareness of these things there, it is very true that in this disaster, people need to know what to do before, during, and after. And that is what the program is about. Last week, I was in University of Port Harcourt. I was shouting on it like a madman, saying that we need to develop what is called a culture of preparedness. That culture of preparedness is starting from the home. That was a right from the home. I asked myself, everybody here, do you have a plan if you don't collect money from your ATM? How will you survive? If there's no water that is from your tank in your house, how do you survive? I tell you, in my house, I have some tanks in the ground floor there, that if the tank fails, there's no light. Because part of the question you raised is this PSPX thing. If the business model of telecommunication is adopted for the power sector, the first of Nigeria interviewed and I told them, we have the model. Today, whether you pay to PSPX or not, do you have that? No. Whether, and if you don't pay, and when you pay, you are paying for the darkness and also for the light. Is it not true? Yes. They are generating darkness and light. At the time they will give you light, another time they give you darkness. Either way, who pays? You pay. Because the day they install meter all over the country, light will be constant. Because the private sector that Obasanjo in 2000, I think around 2000 or so, when they brought the MTN and Globacom and everything there. Now, if you don't have recharge card, and you don't have, what you need in the electricity, just like electricity, in your communication, you need to have your phone, isn't it? What else you need to have? SIM card. And what else you need to have? You recharge it. And get it done. Do you need to fight with MTN and say, I don't have anything? You just have it with you. If you pay, you'll be able to communicate. If you don't pay, you won't communicate. So the same way, the business model for Nigeria is to adopt the business model for telecommunications and allow it to be privatized. They asked me the question. I said federal government should privatize this thing. Otherwise, Nigeria is the world headquarters of generators. 4 out of 5 of the SAs, they all have generators. Big industries are located. And I want to state again here, renewable energy and clean energy is the main, without energy, let's look at what, I'm not a preacher, but God in His mercy, in His wisdom, look in the whole world. It was dark and there was confusion, isn't it? What did God do? He said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw, and there was light. And orderliness started. Without light, but let's face it, reality. I said Nigeria should declare an emergency on power. The developed world, they have number one thing they discuss in their security meeting. What is the number one thing they discuss? Energy security. Go and find that. Am I wrong? So, my president, if you are giving me another opportunity to talk more, but I want to keep it short. Within the range of what you have told me. So, the other aspect is that the other, in climate change, the effect on the human health. Nigeria is the first country in Africa that has produced a document on rebranding climate change in Federal Ministry of Health. In 2015, it was signed by the Minister of Health, and everything you raised about from public health to agri to energy, about 135,000 million Nigerians die every year from indoor air pollution, also from the generators to everything. That's the one reason why you should change your system of using generators, because it's not good for you. And there are business models that you can. And this was the platform to tell you that we have a franchise from Switzerland of an efficient LED solar that you can put in your house that you will just go and be free. Comes with a refrigerator, it goes with television and all those things there. Those things are there. Forget about those days that the Chinese have killed these things. All the street lights, the road work, the street lights will have the solar, something that I'm talking about, the battery lasts for 10 years. Solar panel for 25 years. Tell me that some communities with large solar farms now, they are working. They now invite that they want to have light because they are ready to pay for it. It is what they use that they pay for. So these are the things that we, before looking at the opportunities in climate change in renewable energy. I think the president is interpreting to say something.
Yes, he wants to clarify the question.
Yes.
Well, he didn't want to stop the flow, so he wants to clarify the question.
Thank you very much. I talked about cloud cities. Cloud city is. I talked about cloud city. What happens in the Navy right now is that they can generate waves, not a natural wave.
That's geoengineering.
So what they do is they send it, when they discover the cumulonimbus cloud, they send in an aircraft that goes in there to fire at those clouds. There are chemicals contained like rockets. And that rocket eventually generates rain. It is a natural rain. What I'm asking now is that we'll send protocols. What we're talking about is disaster reduction. Now, how we generate this rain, which is artificial or chemically done, how does it affect agriculture? Food security. How does it affect aviation? We're talking about disaster reduction. For all of us who have spoken here today, government agents who came in here, so how do we drive the process? It's not just enough to sign Kyoto Protocol, Paris Protocol, but there are nations violating these things. What is the effect of these chemicals they are sending out there? How does it affect the health sector? That is what my question is all about. Thank you very much.
Yes, you see, a very good intervention of that is that 2 years ago I was invited by the Nigerian Intelligence Agency to make a submission on a presentation on national security and sustainable development. I will give that document to the Army Resource Center. There are certain sections of what we are calling sustainable development that they don't want it to impinge on their military activities. Do you know that? When you talk about the defense research into what they do, you can't go near those things. Don't go near. Because they know how they protect it and they leave the uniform. But geoengineering is a source of concern. That what this guy is trying to do in North Korea is that he can release some bombs, nuclear bombs that can have electromagnetic pulse that will destroy your electrical components and will return the United States to the something. There are some of those things that you cannot talk about because when you go for international conventions and all the rest, when you mention such topics, they will tell you say it's a no-go area. And one of the things is in the area of geoengineering, of trying to simulate situation in the environment. Russia did something to Poland. The whole parliament of Poland was wiped up some years ago. How many of you are aware of it? It was geoengineering of sealing the cloud and the caused rain. And they simulated the situation, and the pilot saw it differently. The rain that was not supposed to be at that time. Nobody is questioning that. Some of these things are happening. They are illegal things that are happening. And you want to talk about it, do you have the power to talk about it? Do you have nuclear bombs to fight them? I'm asking. It's just like somebody with a bow and arrow trying to fight the person that is flying with a raptor over there. So there are some of those things in the international convention that we dare not talk about. Because if you talk about it, it's rhetoric. Because they will also tell you that, remember, if you do this, we have this for you. And when you raise such type of topic, you are like a lone voice in the wilderness. So we prefer to address the simple solution problems that can affect in terms of food security, in terms of the health of the people, and in terms of the technology that is being used. A country is bringing the technology to remove mosquitoes from one country in West Africa. The whole cabinet of that country has resigned because the mosquito that will be produced is meant to make the citizens to be sterile too. So you know our children in Africa, there is no population in Africa. I don't want to mention the but these are some of the places.
It's a public domain, so you mention it.
You are the one saying it. So these are the things we need to consider because military for national security, please take note. They are saying it all, I can only add to it that it is happening. But they must have it. We have a means of addressing it because Professor Banda, that is the Hungary president right now, we have access to let him know to address it. That's why my paper that was given to NIA, I'll give it to you so that you can see the salient points there. There are certain armaments that you cannot talk about. For example, let me give the example of this defensive research. And you buy a chemical warfare and you cannot make some of those chemical and biological warfare agents. They have stopped it. But you know what they have gone into? They have gone to research to reduce the micron of the chemicals that they have, that they will attack your personal protection equipment. The dress you wear to protect you, the mask you wear, those chemicals will first attack it and you will be blinded. You cannot say anything. You remove your mask and the chemicals will attack you. There's nobody talking about it, but I got this in the United States when I was there in 1980 something. These are the salient points that are very important for our national security when we're fighting biological and chemical war and all those things there. So we should, it's a very good point to address. I hope I have tried to address it, President.
Thank you very much. I would just like to, before I call on the next presenter, I would just like to quickly say that every country has an abnormal plan that deviates a little bit from conventional plans. That plan is usually backed up by both the intelligence architecture and the security architecture. So I don't want to believe that in Nigeria we're all just dealing with guns and bombs alone. We should have a relationship between our intelligence unit and the security unit where they are looking at like all of these other things that are not on the front burner, are not in the public domain. So they are looking at soft chemicals and hexafluorides that are being sprayed and all these kind of envelopes and anthrax and the rest of them that can be sent and what we should do. If one suddenly arrives, what do we do? I want to believe that the intelligence is collaborating with security to discuss these kind of things. If that is not happening, then we are a joke. Okay, we would like to quickly call on the next presenter because lunch is for 1:30 and we hope we will be able to meet up. He has assured me that we can finish between now and then. I've got to him. Okay, I think maybe we open the floor for a little more chat on the subject matter, and then when we come back, we have the presentation and then we conclude the program. I think that's the wise counsel of the DG, and it would be nice that we follow it. Because we're in a military environment and 1:30 is 1:30. We cannot take 1 minute on top of that 1:30. So let's talk a little bit more about underground, other things that are done for security that the layman does not see every day. I mean, security situations can become disaster situations, isn't it? Hello? Okay, so yes, doctor. Please talk to us.
It's from very simple things. There's a statement that he who cannot think for himself must be led by the wisdom of others. Most of the things we use in this country, we're all aware that they are imported, they are designed, and they are set.
Very hostile countries, and they're always on top of everything. Recently, the missiles that are shot from Gaza, as the missiles were up in the atmosphere, before it landed there, the missiles came back and landed in the enemy. They were able to control it through technology, and the missiles came back. I'm not talking about the Iron Dome. I'm talking about the commitment of every citizen in Israel. Every citizen in Israel knows what the government will do for him. They are ready to die for their country. Are you ready to die for your country? Let's be honest.
No, die for myself.
No, sir, when you say that, you are answering me.
Ex-soldiers.
Even the soldiers these days, Colin said that the soldiers' duty is to wear the good uniform and make the other guy die for his country. Am I correct? Colin, do you want to die for your country? Are you dying for your country? You make sure the other guy dies for his country. So, Professor, we are at a point whereby when you talk about what we should do in this country, there must be a rethink on making sure that everybody has a stake. In some of those countries, you cannot go hungry. You know that. They take care of you. If an American soldier or an Israeli soldier is captured somewhere, America will release a warship, aircraft carrier. Have you seen it? Because of only how many people? Because one for all for one. He knows that he cannot die there. His country will do everything to support him. Tell me, are we doing anything to support Nigeria? Their body will die, will suffer the guy, will be rotting there. So we must have a thing. We can't fight corruption without fighting, without putting a good welfare system. Somebody who is working, let me give you in Japan, you know why they work? They kill themselves working. Because the company takes care of everything they should be working for. They have the house, healthcare, school, their children, they take care of them. They have nothing to think about except the work. Are we getting to a system where Nigeria will think of nothing except to work for Nigeria? I'm able to say this because I want to die empty. This thing is in my heart, and I have opportunity to say that you and I have opportunity to talk to whoever is in government that this government we have is a government that I believe that can do it. Because the Department of Humanitarian and Disaster Mgt is the right direction. We want to see that people have a stake and truly have a stake by not just, we fight corruption, but the root cause of corruption is wiped off. Somebody who is a civil servant, he has no plan for where he will live in his house. Will he not make money to build a house? Is his salary is, he said that my salary, my take-home pay cannot even take me home. Is it not true? The policeman that you see standing for 8 hours there, his salary may not have been paid for the past 3 or 4 months. You want him to be patriotic? Let us ask ourselves a basic question. I have this document as I'm talking about to mobilize and make sure that every Nigerian citizen becomes an agent of government. And that is just the secret. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the Director General for Services, NEMA, is one of the members of our newly constituted council, Engineer James Akinode, Please, let's welcome him.
Good afternoon, everybody. Standing on the already established protocol. Before I start, I just want to make this casual statement. In the villages, during festivals, when there are going to be dancers, masquerades will all come. Majority of persons usually wait for the big masquerade. After the big masquerade has come out, it takes the tempo of the festival to the highest, and more or less the festival is like over. And so I have a big task now to be able to come close, because the big masquerade has spoken, it has danced, and I just hope that I'll be able to come very close or at all near to what is supposed to talk about. From the medical perspective, I also have another challenge. Usually, after every meal, the brain has a way of withdrawing blood from various parts of the body and sends it to the GIT, that is the system that receives the food. And that is why immediately after food, the general tendency for people to sleep is a well-established auto-regulatory system that naturally reduces the blood supply to the brain. So one of the tasks I have now is how I can beg the brain to systems of more blood to itself, so that people can be awake after this very delicious food. So thank you very much, everybody, for the opportunity to be here once again. On the marble, tell us that the words of our elders are words of wisdom. The wise man hears and becomes wiser. Dr. Victor Fadeke has spoken quite a lot about military and civilian relationships. I just want to share one small experience I had here about an emotional disaster that would have happened yesterday and today. Many of us know how the electronic system can fail. My flash almost crashed yesterday while we were in hotel. I was trying to prepare. My wife just said, please just take it calmly, we'll find a way out. Before we arrived here, we had already gotten in touch with Sergeant Alex. Permit me to just call your name, but I feel very touched about this. And before my very eyes, those who have the expertise in their field, they had a way of turning it around. He was able to prevent that emotional disaster from happening. And that is more or less like bringing very practically the collaboration before the civilian and the military. And also brings out the point that you don't have to, you just have to collaborate, you have to open up when you have a problem. If that beautiful lady wasn't there and said, look, calm down, it's okay, probably would have been something else. And in the realm of emergencies, whenever it happens, one of the main things a patient of emergency wants is just going to reassure him, please calm down, it will be okay. It has a lot of palliative effects. On that note, I will conclude my on the marble. Be simple and true. My topic, like we already heard, is medical emergencies and mass incidents, mass casualty incidents, preparedness and response. We have already had a lot of theories about many of these things in terms of definitions and all that. As a surgeon, I'm usually used to, what is the problem? I just go there, cut it off and go my way. So we don't try to spend too much time. So I try as much as possible to apply that surgical principle in what I'm trying to do. So pardon me if I don't go into much detail you may be expecting from me. The outline I want to use is just as simple as I've just put it, and I will just run through them. By way of introduction, we all know that nobody knows who's going to be the next casualty. Nobody knows who's going to be the next patient. Because emergencies can happen anytime, anywhere, to anybody. And therefore, what do we do? In the language of our stakeholders, be prepared. So in the standard framework, which range from 2015 to 2030, we know it's an international document on disaster risk reduction. One of the main emphasis there is that member nations should strengthen the preparedness for emergencies and response. And so the hallmark of all what we're saying, the main pillar is actually preparedness. And I want to share one thought with us as disaster managers. Well, for those who believe in the aftermath of life, the greatest disaster that can happen to any human being is failure to return to paradise. And the key to that is what? Preparedness. So if you want to go to heaven, let's begin now to prepare. As disaster managers, it should not be a question that we miss heaven. Well, I just attempt very brief definitions on this, and then we'll go ahead. Various people can define emergencies in various ways, but as far as medicine is concerned, it is that serious event that can happen unexpectedly. It could be an illness, it could be an acute traumatic injury that has potential threat to life itself, and it requires an action to be done. If nothing is done, really, one person's disaster can be the result. This is one common thing nobody wants to experience. The moment you go to hospital and you have somebody who is ill, and you see doctors do like this, you know that so many things are likely to go wrong. So, we want to avoid this type of thing. Even though people can come out of it, you never get there. But you should be able to know how to come out of it if you ever get there. Mass casualty, simple definition, amidst very many definitions, is just to say that it is a situation whereby the number of patients coming per unit time, to a health facility that can stretch and overwhelm the medical resources in terms of personnel, in terms of equipment, in terms of medical consumables. So you can see that it could be very relative. If in the rural setting, for instance, somebody has maybe a 5-bed or 10-bed hospital, and within 30 minutes or 1 hour, he receives 3 patients who have very serious injuries from an accident or whatever, and they don't have the capacity. For them, it's already a mass casualty incident. But of course, if you go to the cities, you know that there are very big hospitals that before you stretch them, they would have already had more than 50 patients. So it's more or less a relative thing in terms of what will overstretch or overwhelm a particular unit. But of course, generally it is known. So the University of Jos, they try to kind of make it a bit easier by dividing it into minor, moderate, and severe, to have a way to kind of, say, this is what it's supposed to be. Yeah. From something like this, when they're in the field, you can see how people are lying down. And you need to decide, among all these persons, whom should I attend first? And a very simple way of sorting them out is the word that is commonly used as triage. We leave the very big definition is, if all of us are here and maybe there's a bomb blast, we have to find a way to sort out those that need the help. A very simple way of saying, hello, can you hear me? Please, if you can hear me, walk out of this hall. Those who don't have so much injury easily walk out. So you have, within 1 minute, sorted out. You have done triage on the field. And so, it's just a simple way of establishing priorities of patient care based on their need, based on their condition. In areas like this, there is no man, no man. If the president is involved, and many other persons are there, and the president can answer, hey, I said, Mr. President, may you please walk out because we can't attend to you first. Those other persons who cannot answer me will be the people I have to answer. So that is triage, just to sort out. So we have triage at various stages. On the field there, that is where they lie. Should anything happen here, and any person who comes in can do that. The simple thing which I have done can be done by any person, not necessarily a medical personnel. We won't go into the pros and cons of who is going to be the commander and all that. So I will focus on the area that's very closely attached to what I should be doing. Going for them. Okay. Yeah, I was saying that there are various different stages where triage can be done. It could be done at the site. It could be done at the medical post. When I mean at the site, at the scene where whatever has happened, you try to extricate and you move them to the medical post. By the time people have been brought out from that medical outpost, triage can also be done there. Triage can be done when the people are being evacuated to the hospital. If there is just maybe one ambulance or two, you have to decide the person that needs this service more than the other. Triage can also be done when the patients or casualties get to the hospital. Again, from the time of evacuating the person into the vehicle and to get to the hospital, a number of things can happen. The person you think was okay at the site, the thing can change in the course of transportation. By the time you get to the hospital, it can also change. So the main thing about managing emergencies is repeated examination.